Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Want to know how much money you'll need in retirement? Well, that all depends.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Of all the questions I receive each week, the most common one of them all is this: Tony, how much money will I need in retirement? Or put another way, do I have enough money to create a paycheck to replace the one I no longer will have? Pretty straightforward and simple question, yet not so easy to answer, especially if you're that saver in search of an advisor who is trained in the art of retirement planning and has the experience in working with thousands of savers who are retired or are nearing retirement, such as us at Tony Walker Financial. And while the financial world would have you believe that there is a set number all of us need to retire, truth be told, there is no magic number you'll need in retirement. There is no one-size-fits-all time when you should start drawing Social Security. And no, there is no magic formula for how much money you should have at risk in the stock market. No, the only way to know for sure if you can retire worry-free is through a written game plan constructed by a retirement planning firm that has the experience to take you from work to retirement. So, what does this game plan look like, and how do you know if you have enough money to retire? Well, as we said, that all depends, so let's find out. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, longtime retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before I share with you how much you'll need in retirement, let me introduce to you in the studios this morning in Louisville, Kentucky, on this March 19th, thank you. Oh, I already gave away the introduction. Thank you, Aaron. On this March 19th, 2024, there he is over there keeping up with the dates of the show, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning to you, sir. Good morning, audience.
And we were, right before we went on, I said, all right, Aaron, I know you're not even near retirement, or hope you're not anyway, but not even near retirement. This subject matter probably doesn't have a lot of interest to you, but I said, there's got to be something, Aaron, where you were getting ready to spend some money or get involved in a project where you really didn't know what you were getting into, so you consulted somebody who might know what you're getting ready to get into. And you said, yep, I got an example. Lay it on me.
Yeah, so our house that we're currently in, we've been in it about 8 years now. And about 4 years ago, we decided, we really want to get the basement finished, wanted to put a bathroom down there, put another bedroom down there, everything, put an office down there. But I had never really, I'd done a little construction work, when I was in college and stuff like that, but never, I've never busted up the floor to put in a, what's called a crock for a toilet and all that stuff. I didn't have a clue about any of that. So, saved and saved and saved. And then, the next step was to get expert advice and people who knew what they were doing. So one of the first person I reached out to was my father-in-law.
And so basically you asked him to anticipate and budget the cost. Was it pretty close? I know this was pre-COVID and you didn't have all these high lumber costs. Was it pretty accurate what he said it would cost?
Yeah, we got it down to a pretty good, maybe went a little over because, we just had to have like the special, I don't know. Yeah, you start looking at stuff and you're like, oh, I want that fancy toilet.
Fancy toilet. We talked about toilets the other day, and we're back on toilets. Okay, I'll get off toilets, folks. But great example. So let's get back to retirement. All right. So this age-old question, do I have enough money to retire? Or maybe you're already retired, and you're actually starting to question this a little bit. I had a gentleman the other day, Aaron, came in. Really interesting case. He retired because his advisor told him he could. So he retires right before 2022. His account went down almost $300,000. The market tanked in 2022. He went back to work. So he's back to me now. He's saying, okay, Tony, I've been watching the TV program. We also have a TV show, folks, and you keep talking about all the planning and this written game plan. I want to see this written game plan because I did not have that before when this one advisor told me to retire, and I felt like I was going broke. So he met last night. He came in for his second appointment. I showed him the written game plan, and I mean, it is so exciting to show something to somebody that they've never seen before. Our proprietary written game plan at Tony Walker Financial. So we answered a lot of questions, but here's the typical questions we get from people who are retired or nearing retirement that they might have. And remember, Aaron, these people are getting ready to get into a phase of life they've never had before. I mean, they've been working, they get a paycheck, they just spend it and invest it. This is now having to take all this money you've saved and all these decisions you've got to make, and then all of these questions come up. So let me kind of read a laundry list of questions I typically hear from people thinking of retiring. All right, here we go. First question is very common. Do I have enough saved in my 401k plan? Many times I'll have people come in and I mean, they've got bukus of money in this thing. And for whatever reason, and we'll see this later, I think I know why, they have really been led to believe that they've got to have this magic number. And I don't know why, Aaron, it's always $1 million. Why do you think that is? I don't know what
it is about the word million.
$1 million.
I've had people literally tell me they'll have like 920,000 or whatever. This has happened several times in my career, and they'll go, "I'm going to retire when I hit $1 million." And I'm saying, "Are you serious? Are you letting that number dictate when you retire?" And they're like, "Yep, okay, so whatever." That's you're going to find out that's irrelevant, but that's a good question. Okay, let's go to the next question. Do I need to maybe work part-time to supplement my income? Now, this is a biggie. And quite frankly, especially for people who want to retire a little early, 58, 59, 60, most times, occasionally I'll look at somebody and go, you know what, you don't need to work at all. But that's not a bad idea, especially if you need to get health insurance and things like that. A lot of people I work with are retired. They maybe go back part-time. Sometimes they go back part-time because they get kind of bored. It's not as much financial as it is just kind of having something else to do. So yeah, you may have to go back part-time. We'll help you figure that one out. Boy, this is a common one. And talking about the know-it-alls out there that give blanket statements on this one, folks, there is no right or wrong answer on this. And this is as follows. When should I start drawing my Social Security? Speaking of it, just depends. There's a lot that goes into that, and we never get into that until we've gotten into the game plan and really dissected everything before we even think about when we're going to take Social Security. Again, so don't accept those blanket statements of take it early, take it late, blah, blah, blah. That you can get yourself into trouble with that. Here's another one. Here's a big elephant in the financial room. How much money in the way of taxes am I going to owe when, not if, when I pull money out of that tax-infested 401k plan? Again, I know you've heard us talk about this. We advertise it all the time. 2025, these tax rates, the lowest in history, are going to expire. We don't know what they'll do, but we are here to help at Tony Walker Financial. We've got our 2 tax-certified experts on staff. Obviously, I've been doing this a long time. We have other salaried fiduciaries here to help. We want to help as best we can keep those taxes as low as possible. Another question. Should I have all of my debt paid off by the time I retire, especially the home? And this is a key. Most savers I have found, Aaron, put it this way, Aaron, I've said this before, I've never had a saver that I recommended paying off their home come back and say, why did I pay off my home?
Why did I do that?
And I'll tell you why. We're going to talk about this later. It's because of cash flow, folks. It's not necessarily the best economic decision. I mean, right now, obviously, if you got a low interest rate, you can earn a lot higher interest rates on a guaranteed basis through us. If you're only paying 2.5%, 3% on a home loan. But sometimes as you get into retirement, it becomes a cash flow issue. And this idea of having to come up with money to keep making a house payment doesn't suit well. So we can help you analyze that and see if it's best to go on and pay off that home with these tax-infested dollars that you're going to pay taxes on anyway. Speaking of home, here's one. Should I downsize? Met a couple the other day. They've got a lot of land out near Simpsonville. They love their property. And I finally looked at the wife, and he kept talking about his zero turn and doing this and loves out mowing. I said, ma'am, if something happens to him, are you going to keep this place? Aaron, she didn't bat an eye. She went, nope. So, there's a lot that goes into the aging process and deciding if the home you're in is best suited for you long term. Now, we'll say this. A lot of people think they can run out and get these patio homes and they're very inexpensive and you can sell your home and take all this equity and have money left over. That's not always the case, folks. So be careful. If you're thinking your home can be sold, you can go out and get a patio home and you'll have boatloads of extra money. These patio homes, HOA fees and everything, I'm not saying you shouldn't consider them, but you may have a little sticker shock when you see what they're wanting. So sometimes it's best to stay in your current home, fix it up the way you want it, maybe make it a little more accessible, etc., than rushing out trying to find something you think is going to be easier, which might actually be more expensive. So really, basically, here's what we're going to get into, folks. This is really about cash flow. Retirement planning is an art. It's not a science. It takes a lot of experience. And the rest of the show, we're going to walk you through what we're looking at when we're trying to help you decide if you have enough money to retire now, or even if you're already retired and you're starting to get a little nervous, like the one gentleman that, hey, maybe I'm not going to have enough, or my advisor keeps telling me to take all this risk and I'm not comfortable with that. We're going to address that as well. So stay tuned. We're going to explore how much you really need in retirement to be worry-free. I am Tony Walker along with Aaron Orander. You're listening to the Worry-Free Retirement. We will be right back.
Our employee spotlight shines brightly today on Miss Lisa Allerkamp. Lisa, good morning.
Good morning.
And tell the audience when you started at Tony Walker Financial.
I started at the firm in February 2017.
And currently, a little bit about your duties. I know you're really in charge of the income planning department, but just kind of describe what you do and the rest of the folks in your department.
Sure, we create the income plans or the game plans for our clients. We take your recommendations and lay them out in a game plan that's detailed and includes taxes, Social Security, RMDs, and when and how to access each account.
And I want to compliment you and the group of individuals that do those income plans. It's so exciting for me to present those plans, and when most of these people have never seen anything like it. So kudos to you in keeping up with that. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Tony.
So what is the most enjoyable part of your job at Tony Walker Financial?
Well, I enjoy the opportunity to create the plans and just be a part of producing such a tool that's helpful to our clients in their retirement.
And I think we did. How many did we do in 2023?
901.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, we're into the thousands now, so hopefully many more years to come, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And our Tony in the Trenches says this. Tony, I was recently offered a buyout from my employer, and while I'm very interested in taking them up on their offer, but not sure if I can retire now. I recently interviewed several different advisors, but none of them has provided evidence that I can, in fact, retire. What process does your firm go through to help people decide whether to take a buyout or keep working?
That's a great question. And over the past several years, I've met a ton of people who find themselves in this position. The company they've worked with for many years, it's going on right now, especially up in the Louisville area. Quite a few big companies are doing this. But anyway, the company they've worked with for years approaches this employee and offers them an early buyout, sometimes called a severance, whereby they say, look, if you'll retire now, we're going to pay you X amount of money. And sometimes it's a sizable chunk of change. They might offer additional health benefits, a lot of goodies they might throw in there. And so put yourself in this position, Aaron. If you're an employee, maybe you're 60, 61. Your original idea was maybe to retire at 65, but all of a sudden you're being offered a full year's salary to walk away now. That would be pretty tempting, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Even though you're not really planning on retiring. So I get it. It's a big deal, but it also forces this employee, who in many cases hasn't had the mindset to retire. Now they've got this thrown on them. Sometimes there's deadlines. They don't know what to do about this. One company here in Louisville have a lot of their folks approach me, and most of them have been accepting the buyout. But one of them came in the other day and he said, man, I'm just not ready for this. I don't care if I do get a buyout. This is scary stuff. And he decided to continue to work. So it really is a personal thing. But the key is, again, you need to figure out who you're going to work with and their approach as an advisor. So let's kind of go through, if that's you out there, whether you're just wanting to retire and want us to look at your situation, but especially if it's kind of been something that's pressed upon you, an urgent need, a buyout, maybe you're having health issues, Many people I meet with, especially in manufacturing, come in and they say, Tony, man, I'm just tired. I can't keep doing this, whether it's the hours or walking up and down the concrete floors. So if that's you right now and you're saying, Tony, what do you all do exactly to take me through this process? Let's walk through that real quickly. Several tools. And by the way, all of these are located at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. So the first thing you do, if you go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, on that homepage, you're going to see something called a starter kit. Starter kit. It says starter kit packet. We're going to ask you to download that and print it off. If for some reason you don't have access to a printer or that's a problem, you can just let us know and we'll mail you one of those. You can go to the Let's Get Started and click there. But anyway, you're going to need to fill that out. And within that starter kit is a documents checklist. So what we're trying to do is we're going to have an appointment with you and I, okay, in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, Lexington, Kentucky offices. You're going to meet with the owner of the company. And you're going to bring that starter kit in along with all of your documents. Now, that might be the buyout offer, your 401k plan, your savings accounts, your last year's tax return, any annuities, insurance policies, whatever you've got. And we're going to have what I call a fact finder meeting. Also in that packet, there is something called the worry meter. We're going to ask you to fill that out so we can also get an idea of what is really worrying you in this decision to retire. So armed with your starter kit and the worry meter, we're going to sit down and go over things. Now, what I'm going to probably do, and we'll see this in a minute, really retirement planning is all about cash flow. It's money coming in the front door must exceed what's going out the back door. And you've managed that all your life if you're working because, you know, your employer just takes out your 401k, your FICA, your taxes. You got a net check. That net check gets deposited in your checking account. You just try not to spend more than's coming in the front door. It's not that complicated. But now all of a sudden, you don't have an employer doing all this payroll deduction and doing your taxes. You got to find somebody that does all that for you. And that's what we do. We're going to set up the cash flow, the parameters. We're going to roll over your 401k plan. We're going to set up your Charles Schwab account. We're going to link everything back to your checking. A gentleman decided to go with us yesterday, Aaron. He goes, wait a minute, I'm confused. How am I going to get my money every month? He was like, I guess he's just trusting us. I'm saying, sir, you're not going to miss a beat. It's going to be a monthly check coming into your checking account, just like you had when you worked. Does that make sense? It's
right.
No different. Yeah, no different. We'll take out the taxes. He was like, man, this is awesome. So we're going to do that. Now, there's another resource you might want to look at. Again, because this is not budgeting, it's cash flow. On our website at TonyWalkerFinancial.com in the download section. And again, any of these documents, I'll give you a phone number in a minute. If you want to just call us, we'll send them to you. That's no problem. But it's called the spending plan. And the purpose of the spending plan is so that you can share with me all of the expenses you have at home. And it's also going to show us how much money we need after tax. Okay, the after tax amount of money needed to support your household. We've got to have that number. And then through our expertise, what we do, we go into our income planning software. We're going to take all of your investments. We're going to move those over to Tony Walker Financial, whether it's Schwab, annuities, whatever we're going to end up deciding with your approval. And then we're going to send you that a monthly amount that will meet or exceed what you need from the spending plan. So that's what we call cash flow. It's really not that complicated. It's just more complicated because retirement has made it that way. So again, you've been doing this all your life, but more than likely, assuming you're not self-employed, your employer's been doing it for you. You work, you make money, they take all the deductions out, and then they deposit a net check into your checking account. And now that you're retired, remember all these questions you've got. You know, how much taxes am I going to owe on this 401k? Where does Social Security fit in? What are the taxes going to be on Social Security? What about all these Medicare premiums and extra income and health insurance? All of that stuff that you're now having to worry about, we at Tony Walker Financial are going to be there to help you figure that out. Okay, when we come back, we've got another Tony in the Trenches that's really good, and we're also going to talk about this idea of why this magic number of $1 million keeps coming up and why it basically is irrelevant to your plans for a worry-free retirement. I'm Tony Walker. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. We will be right back. Is the person you're entrusting with your life savings a fiduciary? In other words, is that advisor legally obligated to work in your best interest, or could they be working in their own? It's a critical question, especially when you consider how your money will be invested in retirement. My name is Tony Walker, and at Tony Walker Financial, we take the responsibility of being a fiduciary very serious. And while other advisors choose to fly under the radar of the proper government authorities charged with regulating advisors, we do not. So before you make the pivotal decision of investing your life savings with an advisor who may not be required to work in your best interest, contact us by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or give us a call anytime, toll free at 877-499-9255. Did you realize that if you have more than $250,000 in retirement assets, the government could tax as much as 40% of it when you go to take it out? And with current tax rates set to expire in 2025, the taxes you will owe on your 401k could climb even higher. Don't wait until 2025 to see how much Uncle Sam will take of your money. Get a game plan by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. With the uncertainty of the stock market, now may be the best time to consider moving your 401k to safer territory. To talk to me at no cost or obligation, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Worry-Free Retirement, and we've got another Tony in the trenches. Here we go. Tony, I've been on YouTube a bunch and watching various videos from advisors telling you how much you will need in retirement. A lot of advisors are suggesting that savers will need to invest more and more money in the stock market to combat the effects of inflation during retirement. I hate the thought of having a lot of money in the stock market in retirement. What are your thoughts?
Funny, as we have covered this on the show in the past, is people are actually living shorter lives, not longer lives. Yet the financial world, there's an article that came out about this, and even the people agreed here, and this is what's funny. The financial world is assuming that people are living longer and longer lives. In fact, this article said that a lot of people think they'll live to 100. Do you think you're going to hit 100?
Oh,
man, I kind
of hope I don't. I hope that doesn't sound bad, folks. I kind of hope I don't get that old.
I'm picturing millions of 100-year-olds just kind of walking around doing the Tim Conway shuffle. You know, that's kind of a scary thought. But
everybody going, what?
Yeah,
what?
Yeah, everybody's going, what?
What's all that yelling?
But it's interesting that Wall Street used to have something called the Rule of 100. What they would do is they'd take 100 minus your age, and then that's the amount, that you would. So if you're 60 years of age, you're supposed to take, 60 from 100, and 40% of your money should be in the stock market. Now, Aaron, because they think you're going to live longer, they've actually started the Rule of 120. So in the same example, if you took 120 minus 60, that leaves 60% in the stock market. So Wall Street's answer for this question of whether people should have more money in the stock market if they're going to live longer is yes, which to me, that doesn't make sense. What we suggest people do, if you think you're going to be living a long life, is consider the following. Again, I've worked with thousands of people, folks, and most of our clients are over the age of 65 and into what we call the second half. So I've seen this play out. What we would ask you to remember is most people, number one, probably aren't going to live to 100, but most people start spending less and less money as they age. So I get it. Although inflation is real, what's going to happen in your financial plans for the future is you'll start spending less. And what we want to make sure is if you do hit that magic age of 100, you don't run out of money. Well, how do we do that? We don't do that by taking more risk. Not if you're a saver, all right? Maybe an investor and speculator is going to do this, but not savers who have to depend on that money. We do that through something called
mailbox money.
And this mailbox money is the same mailbox money my granddad had when he had a pension. So really mailbox money, pensions, Social Securities, private annuities, which is what we sell and put inside the plans that we offer to our clients, those are designed to make sure that you never, ever run out of money. And they're getting really popular, Aaron. In fact, more and more people on Wall Street are even selling annuities. So if you ever see an ad or some sort of statement that refers to guaranteed income you can never outlive, they're talking about what?
Mailbox money.
Mailbox money. They're talking about annuities is what they're talking about, folks. So remember, annuities are the only thing that can guarantee you won't run out of money. So we like to put those in. All right, we want to get back to cash flow. Interesting article I saw. And again, we talked about this magic number of $1 million. Where did this come from, and why do so many people think they've got to have $1 million to retire? Well, I'll tell you where it comes from. Derek was doing some research on this, or maybe it was you, Aaron. Did you do the research and found all these different states and how much it's going to take? Did you find that
Yeah,
article?
I found an article last week. I think it was from USA Today, and it was talking about, I love the tagline. It was like, not a millionaire, don't despair. But it was talking about some of the most expensive cities to retire in.
Okay. Yeah, and I
Or
think
states.
Yeah, like Colorado, I know, but most of the states that they mentioned that were pretty expensive, Kentucky actually wasn't the most expensive, or Indiana, I don't think hit it either. But it was like Maine, Connecticut, Colorado, I'm sure New York was
Arizona,
in there.
I think.
There you go. But they were around, on average, and again, these are just ballparks, folks. Don't go by this, but basically annual expenses needed about $61,000 a year, and that's after tax. And if you're just now joining us, this is why you want to download our spending plan at Tony Walker Financial, because we want to arrive at the need for how much after-tax money you'll need on an annual basis, and that's what we do with our written game plan. So basically, this is the part, though, that's kind of sketchy. It just says, assuming you have savings and you need to generate money, $61,000 a year for 25 years, you'll need $1 million. So there's a lot of problems with these estimates. Number one, what happens if you live more than 25 years? Does that mean you're broke? Does that mean the $1 million runs out? What does that even mean? Is $61,000 enough, or is it way too much? Different for different people. I have some clients that live on much less than that, and then I have some that look at me and say, Tony, there's no way I can live on $61,000. I'm doing all kinds of travel and still helping maybe some grandkids in college, whatever. So again, folks, this whole idea of how much you'll need in retirement, it always comes back to it just depends. Oh, and one thing I wanted to cover, on last week on the show, we talked a little bit about the taxation of Social Security. And one reason we do not, when we're doing an income plan, we do not show cost of living adjustments for inflation on Social Security. And if you're wondering what that means, is basically over the years, almost every year, the Social Security Administration, the trustees will come in and they'll say, we're going to provide a cost of living adjustment. In other words, we're going to pay you more for your Social Security than the previous year. And some years it's been a big number. But what they have not done, what they have not adjusted for inflation, is how Social Security is taxed. Folks, the last time they adjusted this was in 1984. In other words, as you make more money from Social Security and other assets because of inflation, you're pulling out more money, that actually gets tossed on top of your Social Security, which has its own tax bracket. And that bracket has not been adjusted for inflation. So what that means is you're going to go into a higher bracket more quickly on your Social Security as you take out more money. And yes, even if they pay you more on Social Security with inflation, okay, it's almost kind of an oxymoron because you're just going to pay more in taxes. They kind of get you both ways. So folks, if you're listening to this show by now, you're probably thinking, Tony, I didn't realize all this stuff goes into retirement planning. And I'm now understanding it's more about cash flow. And I understand that it has an effect on taxes. And I haven't even gotten into fees, keeping your fees down. So one of the things savers do, and one of the things we help them with, is number one, we try to keep their costs down, their fees down, their taxes down, so they'll have more money in their pocket. And we do that so they can take less risk. So that's you right now. If you're sitting there saying, Tony, I've been retired for years and never felt like I had a game plan, or maybe you're that person being offered a buyout and you'd be interested in meeting with us, or maybe you're just got an old 401k somewhere that you know you need to do something with that's not working for you and is not involved with any type of game plan with a trained retirement planning firm such as Tony Walker Financial. We need to talk. And we've made this so easy. We call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call. So to talk to me in person about your situation, all you do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or if the internet's not your thing, just give us a call anytime at 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. We've enjoyed being with you, but you remember, between now and next week, if all else fails, you be worry-free and make it a good one.